Hey everybody, Janine here, and today we're going to be talking about my experience with home ownership. As you can see, we're filming in a little bit different of a location. My husband and I purchased a home just about 2 months ago now, and we're finally feeling settled in, and I can give an honest review about our home purchase experience. Rewinding a little bit to about a year ago when we did start looking for a home, we found that a lot of the homes that we were looking at were either overpriced or not, what we were looking for when it comes to the layout of the home. One of the things we were looking for was a home that was close to the inner city so that I was still able to walk to work while still being within our price range. And when I talk about our price range, what I mean is the amount that we felt comfortable spending that would lead to a mortgage payment that would not bankrupt us should one of us lose our job. Our rule for home ownership as well as rent payments was always that one of the 4 paychecks we receive in the month between my husband and I needs to be able to cover the mortgage or the rent expense for the period. We've done this with our lifestyle so that we don't feel like we are in over our heads should one of us lose our job or go on an extended study leave or maternity or parental leave. We're really comfortable in that we can afford our house on about 25% of our take-home pay. This may or may not work for you depending on how much each spouse earns in the relationship. My husband and I are lucky in the sense that we both have well-paying jobs and we both earn about the same on a monthly basis, give or take a few $100s. Now, once we had an idea of what we were able to afford, we started to look at places within the neighborhoods we wanted to within Calgary. What we found was a lot of places weren't willing to negotiate. They thought that they were fairly priced and didn't want to take a loss on their property, even though it's been about 4 years since the economic downturn in the city, and a lot of these places were overvalued. One of the best pieces of advice that we took during this period was to be patient, and we probably had 3 different owners come back to us and make us counter offers weeks or months after we put in our final offer. And one of them actually came in at a lower offer than what we had previously said we would be comfortable with paying. Now, this was beneficial for us because we were able to negotiate hard and save tens of thousands of dollars on a home. And I think that this is such an important thing to talk about because when you're looking at your budget, you can find ways to cut on a day-to-day basis, such as, Starbucks, or maybe it's bringing lunch. And while that is important to make sure that you are reining in your spending, it is so much more important to be able to save on those large expenses like your mortgage expense or your rent expense. So if you can negotiate $10,000 off of your mortgage payment or a couple $100s off your monthly rent payment, you're going to find yourself in a much better financial situation than if you deprive yourself of Starbucks every day. Now, I said we made a couple of offers, and we actually had 2 places that accepted our offers before we found the place that we currently live. And I cannot stress this enough, but make sure that you have a fantastic inspector that is willing to fight for you during the process. Realtors are compensated by a sale that they make to you, so any inspector that they're probably going to recommend is also going to be looking at helping them close that sale. So you want to make sure that your inspector is not tied to your realtor, and you realistically want an inspector that isn't loved by realtors. And that was exactly what happened in our situation. Our inspector and realtor didn't really get along by the end of it, but we were so thankful that our inspector was so thorough because we backed out of 2 properties after the inspection based on things he found. One was water under the loft, and the property had only been built for 4 years. And the other was a combination of things, but we really just felt at the end of the day that this property was extremely poorly constructed and there was pages upon pages of issues with this place. So we were happy that we dodged, potentially tens of thousands of dollars in repairs. Now, once we closed on this property and our inspector gave it the thumbs up, we had to start the mortgage process. We worked with a mortgage broker, which was fantastic because at the time we were not in a position to complete all of that paperwork by ourselves. He was able to walk us through all of the steps that made getting a mortgage super simple. He didn't end up using any of the large financial institutions. He actually found a smaller lender that would give us a better rate. Once we had our mortgage approved and our final paperwork was put through, we needed to engage our lawyer to help us get all of the final documents for the land transfer ready for us. And our lawyer was fantastic. He gave us a great rate and was very straightforward and quick to process all of our paperwork while still being thorough. So we definitely appreciated that. And I can say we've been here for 2 months and we are definitely loving living in this area. There are so many reasons that you can choose renting or buying. And at the end of the day, you need to do what's right for you. When you are looking at whether or not to rent or buy, you really need to look at whether or not you're going to be staying in the same area for an extended period of time. If you're going to be moving cities within a couple of years, it definitely doesn't make sense to rent. You also want to look at all of those additional costs that come with it. So we own a townhouse in a fourplex. So one of the things that we had to budget for was making sure that we were able to afford not only our property taxes, but our condo fees as well, because it is considered a condo if there's more than 2 units on a property. The financial piece of buying a home was definitely pretty straightforward for us. We ended up putting down close to 30% on our home because we did want to minimize our mortgage payment for the long term and ensure that we weren't house poor, because no one wants to be stuck sitting at home not able to live their life when their mortgage payments are costing them over 50% of their income. So definitely be mindful of that and do the calculations of your budget. For us, it came down to the fact that when we were looking at similar properties to this one to rent in Calgary, it actually came down to being more expensive to rent the properties that were similar to this one in the areas that we were looking to buy. So it did make sense for us to start buying. That being said, I am totally of the mindset that purchasing a home is definitely more expensive. We've already had a little bit of water damage in our master bedroom near our balcony door. What's fantastic about buying a new build is the builder is definitely going to look after that for us. And all of our appliances and the envelope of our home is covered for the first year under the new home buyer's insurance. So we're definitely very thankful for that. But it does come back to doing your due diligence and making sure that you do have a fantastic inspector so that you aren't caught with a huge financial surprise when something happens to your roof or your windows a couple months into homeownership. The last thought I have is to make sure that you're advocating for yourself when it comes to purchasing your home. Don't worry about what your realtor thinks about you if you are making a lowball offer, which we did a ton of times, and that's typically where we started. Our realtor would push back a little bit, and I would just say that, again, they are paid based on how much house they sell you. One of the last thoughts I wanted to leave you with was make sure that you are advocating for yourself when it comes to purchasing your home. Remember how everyone is compensated in the process of home purchasing, whether that's your mortgage broker, your inspector, or your realtor, because that's going to affect their biases when it comes to you buying your home. I know we tend to lowball offers at the beginning and negotiate hard, and I think sometimes our realtor was probably a little bit frustrated with us, but we held true to our values and we knew how much we wanted to be able to pay for a home, and we also felt that it was a fair value in the market today. Had we listened to our realtor, we probably would have ended up paying a few $1,000s or maybe tens of thousands of dollars more on our home. So remembering that realtors are compensated and paid based on how much house they sell you. So the more the house costs, the bigger the percentage they get. And while realtors do have a role in purchasing a home, you at the end of the day need to advocate for yourself and definitely do not worry about what anyone thinks of you during the process. So we're 2 months in. I'm sure I'll have updates for you along the way. We've paid, I think, 0.5% of our mortgage. I haven't quite decided if we're going to be doing extra mortgage payments or not, because I do think that we will want to bolster our investment funds since we did pull some money out of there, obviously for our down payment. So if you have any questions or comments, or you just purchased a home, I'd love to hear from you in the comments section below. And if you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel.